Hello, reader besties. Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to talk about everything I read in the month of May. In May, I am so proud I made a significant dent in my TBR. 7 out of the 8 books were books that were on my shelves, so we have lots to fill in here today. The first book that I read was Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen, and had a good time reading it, but it really didn't stick with me. Overall, I was hoping to like it a lot more than I did. There were a couple quotable moments, but unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be continuing to think about this book long term. So this is going to get a 3-star read from me. I also continued the Mortal Instruments series with City of Ashes and City of Glass. These were both an enjoyable time, but not new favorites, so these are also getting 3 stars. Then I read The Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson, starting with Kiss of Deception. The first book was my favorite, and I'm going to give that one 4 stars, and the following books I will give 3 stars. And then for my first 2-star review of the year, we have Darling Girl by Liz Michalski. This book has been on my shelves for so long that I had to get it. I had to get to it. And now we know. So I'll give you more details in a little bit. But for now, we're going to mark this as a 2-star, which in my book means I'm mad that I tried. I still feel like this is not enough progress for where we're at in May, but I'm hoping to, make some more headway in these shelves here pretty soon. I have all of my details updated, and it feels good to be able to turn the page. We are now at 32 books for the year. My TBR is now down to 122 books from 133, so we're definitely making some progress. And I have filled out another TBR loyalty card, so it's time for me to reward myself with a new book.
I'm using my May pen to note which series I read this month. I finished the whole Remnant Chronicles and finished the first half of The Mortal Instruments.
In Book Besties, our next book is Project Hail Mary, which I'll go over in my June wrap-up. And Book Babes, we read You Killed Me First by John Mars. Now to get into some reading challenges. I wanted to participate in 2 readathons in May. We have Escape the Readathon, which is always my favorite, and we also had the Vampire Diaries readathon, but May was just too crazy and I couldn't keep up with anything, so sadly we have no readathons here. I think I will still do the Vampire Diaries readathon a little later on my own, because Chloe always plans really fun readathons, so I think I'll just do that separately later on, but no updates as far as readathons go. But I did make some dents in my One Ring challenge. Our Infinite Fates is a magical realism read. And then The Mortal Instruments is an urban fantasy. So I'm going to add City of Ashes as my choice for urban fantasy. And then the next challenge I made progress in is bingo. So we had 2 books added for bingo. We have Kiss of Deception and Darling Girl. All right, we'll do Darling Girl first. I read that one first. And this is I1. So right here. Guys, I'm just all over the grid right now. I'm gonna have to start reading more in order to get any kind of pattern going. And then Kiss of Deception, N1. Okay, got 2 in a row. Not bad, not bad. Some kind of progress is happening. But yes, definitely need to focus on these guys here.
Jumping into my May cover page, I decided to go with this Marigona Sully illustration of a girl with pink hair and Dalmatians. May is my birthday month, and this sticker just really fits my personality, and I just love it so much. So something I like to do when I'm using a larger sticker from a sticker sheet is to kind of cut around the border so I can place it on the page and visualize where it's going to be. I will say, in hindsight, as I am editing this video, I already know how this page is going to turn out, and I'm not in love. You can tell that I really struggled with it. I think so far it's looking okay. I've kind of got a layout going. I've got some color coordinating happening, but here's where it gets a little sticky. I decide, for whatever reason, to place the large sticker in the bottom corner, which just made this page feel very imbalanced, and I just kept going with it. I also decided, oh, I'm going to use these stamps that I've never tried before, and instead of practicing, I'm just going to stick them straight onto the page. And like, oh, that looks bad, so let me just keep doing more because maybe more will make it better. At least the sticker will cover it up, and maybe some washi tape too. You can see I'm kind of fighting for my life at this point. Nothing is going well. So my solution is just to keep sticking and maybe it'll get better. So anyway, it doesn't get so much better, and eventually I just end up ripping the sticker off of the page and putting it in the center to make it at least a little bit more centered. Then I decide to kind of fix the rips and tears on the page by adding in some ripped up book paper. I mean, it's a reading journal, so it fits the theme, but now I just made the bottom corner of the page heavier again. So then I scramble, trying to like recenter everything, moving my title to the center, creating all of this white space, and naturally my MO is just to fill in the white space. So we're going to add some more book paper and more stickers, and it's just going to start, looking very cluttered. Why do we talk about all this? Why didn't I just start over? And I think I've been journaling for so long that I have learned that you learn so much when you work through the mistakes, even if you are on a page that you're not really loving, you're feeling less and less inspired as you go. But even if you're not happy with it, if you work through the process, you understand why what you're doing isn't working. And you only recognize those things if you work through the process and get to the final result. So this was me trying my very best to salvage what I was hating. And in the end, it's not like the most awful thing, but it's not the best thing. It looks very cluttered and kind of crazy, but I'm glad that I didn't just scrap it and start completely over, because I learned some things in the process. On the right, we have my first 3 book reviews, starting with City of Ashes and City of Glass, which are books 2 and 3 of the Mortal Instruments series. I'm reading this crazy long series in chronological order, and I'm starting to get worried because I am not really enjoying the last, these 2 books. Lots of inappropriate relationships, and the main character is very immature. So please tell me if it gets better. And I don't really have anything nice to say about You Killed Me First. It's about a vapid group of friends who all end up against each other. So enjoy it if that's your thing. A book series I do want to talk about is The Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson. Something that has been a little fascinating for me recently is kind of diving into old romantasy series, as I read more popular romantasy series that are being published more recently, just because I'm curious about what inspiration these new authors are taking from, and are they making it their own or are they plagiarizing? And I've seen that there's lots of inspiration taken from these series as well. So I'm just curious. The Remnant Chronicles has been sitting on my shelf for a minute, so it was fun to get that off of my TBR. In this series, we are following Princess Arabella. She is betrothed to a prince in a neighboring kingdom, and she's just not up for this arranged marriage situation, so she ends up fleeing and finding a job in a village just as a normal peasant girl with her best friend. First of all, I love that storyline. I think there should be more best friend characters as, the heroes in a book as opposed to just a love interest, but I digress. So Arabella and Pauline, they go and they figure out their life in this neighboring town, and one day two different men show up. As the reader, we don't know who is who. We just know that one of these men is the prince that she was supposed to marry, and one is an assassin meant to kill her. So I thought that was a very cool storyline, and had I known that going into these books, I probably would have read that earlier. So book one was a lot of fun because you genuinely don't know which guy is who until closer to the end when you get the reveal. And it's wonderful. I love when there's a good love triangle situation and I have a hard time picking which guy I want the main character with. It makes it fun for me. Books 2 and 3 were still fun to read. I had a good time, but there was a lot of traveling, a lot of more dull moments, and I started to question the motives of the characters, so it made it a little less gripping for me. Also, the magic element. Arabella is supposed to have this like special gift, and her gift is so underwhelming. I can't even tell you. But aside from that, I enjoyed the books a lot. I would say this is a 3-star series for me overall. Again, really loving the first book. I definitely think it's worth reading if you like early romantasy and a good princess story. I am curious to know what your favorite early romantasy reads are. I absolutely devoured Twilight in high school, but then I kind of took a dive more into historical fiction for many, many years, so I feel like I missed out on a whole decade of romantasy. The next two books I want to talk about are Our Infinite Fates and Darling Girl. I thought their covers were very similar to each other with kind of the dark, moody, greenish black background and some gold foiling, so we're going to take that inspiration and make our spreads. Starting with Our Infinite Fates. I just mixed some kind of tealish color and went lightly around in a squiggle pattern. The cover it kind of looks like overlapping fabric or something on it. And then just adding a little bit more blues, greens, and blacks, and starting to layer the swirls on top of each other. And I like how the effect was happening, so just kept going with it and building around the corner of the page. In Our Infinite Fates, Evelyn and Arden fall in love in every lifetime. But before Evelyn can ever turn 18, somehow Arden shows up to kill her. This is something that was fated for them centuries ago, and they have now lived infinite lifetimes and experienced infinite deaths. So the book kind of jumps back and forth in a present day timeline of, Evelyn's current existence waiting for Arden to show up. And then it flip-flops back into time into these other lives that they've lived and experiences they've had with each other in the past. It was definitely reminiscent of like Addie LaRue and just having that kind of forever fated mate in your orbit, which I enjoyed, but I did think overall it was a little bit underwhelming, especially once we figured out what was causing this fate or what inspired all of this to happen from the start. I enjoyed my time with the book, but it's probably not one that I'm going to spend too much time thinking about ever again. And lastly, we have Darling Girl. So many years ago, I followed this booktuber named Kaylin Abridged, and I loved her content. And she ended up, taking a break from YouTube and still hasn't popped back on. But in one of her last videos, she talked about this book, which is a Peter Pan retelling in which Peter Pan is the villain. And to be fair to Kaylin, she had not read this book yet. She was just, mentioning a Peter Pan retelling, which is what got me to buy the book. But in the years that I've had this on my shelves, Goodreads gives it a terrible review, and so I never read it until now. And now I see why it was so terrible. Essentially, Peter Pan wants to hold on to his youth. He's no longer in Neverland. He's in regular old London, and he's starting to get old. So he siphons youth by kidnapping and murdering children, which, that's already horrible. But then you have the main character, who is Wendy's granddaughter, and her kids. Her kids are going missing, and she spends more time worried that her makeup product launch for her business is going to go badly instead of actually looking for her children. She's lying to the authorities, lying to the private detective that she hired to help find her kids, because she's embarrassed and thinks that people might think she's crazy for believing in Peter Pan. If your children are missing, are you really worried about people thinking you're crazy? Oh, and the mastermind of the whole book, pulling everything together at the end, is her daughter, who has been in a coma since she was 3 years old. So, a 3-year-old is solving this case. Please don't read this book, but let's get into the final flip. Thanks for bearing with me today.